it borders very much for you if you're the person that's saying, I want to read my man's mind and ensure that he's making sure he's okay without him having to even open his mouth. It turns you into his mother. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bodiless Live, the podcast season 2. So let me just jump into this real quick. I realized that I did not let you guys know that I am going on a break for season 1. And I'm thinking I did the whole time. And it was one of my subscribers on my podcast who was just like, hey Nicole, what happened? Like, why haven't we heard from you in a while? I'm just like, because it's like on break until season 2. And she was just like, you ain't really tell us that. And I said, dang, did I not? And I went back and listened to my last podcast, and I definitely did not. So my apologies. I swore I had said that, I'm going to be going on season 2. And biggest reason that I went on this break was to revamp the podcast, because I wanted to make some changes. I wanted to really get this out there because I believe what I'm saying is vital. I believe what I'm saying is major. I believe what I'm saying a lot of people need to hear. But maybe the way I was doing it wasn't like the best of ways. So I went and I was doing some research. Plus I had started another YouTube channel where I was doing places to eat here in Atlanta. And I will tag it in the description so you guys can see it and wherever else I travel to. But yeah, I apologize again, guys. I really thought I had said something that I was going on break for season 2. But here we are, regardless, season 2 of Body Lust, and it's going to be revamped 2.0 on a million, and we're really going to get it going. So today we are talking about submission, and should women submit to their man, and what does submission look like for everyone. And I'm pretty sure if you are on social media, you know exactly where this is coming from, honey. Okay, so listen, stay tuned. We about to get locked in, and don't go nowhere because it's about to be a good show. Now guys, if you are new here, welcome. If you are not new here, welcome back. If you are listening to the podcast, please go ahead and hit that follow button. If you are watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe, hit that like, so you can keep up with the tea, okay? So today, and well, before I even get into what we talk about today, because there has been this break for season 2, and if you are new here, I do want you to know what this podcast is about. I'm a life coach as well as an entrepreneur, so I'm going to speak about a lot of things to help people just better themselves. So it could be inspiration, it could be just things dealing with your mental health, and it could be a little bit of a tea. But let me tell you something, like today's episode is definitely more so hot topics, but it's gonna all tie into something. So here's a place for just growth overall. If you're trying to be a better person, if you're looking to advance yourself in your career, in your personal life, in your love life, with your kids, whatever, like this is the place for you. All right, so just that little brief tidbit there to kind of get that going. Now let's jump into the topic. So personality, or social media rather, personality Watch Jazzy was recently on a podcast doing an interview or I'm not even sure if it was a podcast, but it was an interview where they were speaking on submission and what submission looks like to her with her man, who is speculated to be Cam Newton, right? And she goes into all these various things that has caused some form of outrage, but then some people agree too. So it's definitely stirred up some emotions amongst the masses concerning this topic. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it for you, for those of you who haven't heard it on the audio podcast, and then if we're watching on YouTube, we're gonna go ahead and put this up on the screen and watch that together.
What does a submissive woman do for her man?
Everything.
What does that mean?
Like packing his bag, unpacking his bag, just making sure all the things that he wants. And like, I pretty much read his mind. So it's like, if I know you and I study you, like I know how you are in the morning, I know how you are about midday, I know when you're in this mood, what you need. Like before you can ever ask me for something, I'm already on it. I mean, he's spoiled. And when I talk to my girlfriends about it, I was like, oh, how you guys doing? And I'm just like, girl, he's rotten. I'm like, he's spoiled rotten. Like, he's rotten. But I love that. Like, I want him to be there. I think my biggest flex is how I treat my man. And I've been known to love people back to health. And sometimes it's very draining, but my love is my superpower. And I used to hate that about myself. But now it's like, I'm just embracing it. Like, that's who I am. Like, if I love you, I can heal you.
It's your joy.
It is my joy. I love to see him eating the meal that I cooked. I love seeing him sleep easy. Every night, like clockwork, I scratch this man's back to sleep. And I know when he's asleep because I can tell when his breathing changes. And some people might think that's psychotic, but that's like I just know that's when I'm like, oh, I can stop now. But I find joy in being your rest, you know? So know what that means. And that works for us because he wants what I have to offer.
What are you getting from all that you're giving? What are you asking for in return?
So let me start off by saying, first and foremost, always going to push this, especially coming from someone that works with people's emotional and mental stability. You have to do what is best for you in relationships, okay? There's a lot of things that society will say is wrong, that society will look down upon, that your family will say, nah, you bugging. There's a lot of stuff like that. But if you and your partner are doing what you are doing in a healthy way and you have the understanding and you are getting what you need and they are getting what they need, then you need to do exactly what works for you, period. So you're not going to get me here speaking on one thing being better than the other. Healthy situations are healthy because when it comes to relationships, they're healthy because all parties have agreed upon this particular lifestyle and all parties involved like that lifestyle. Okay, so let me just start off by saying that. Now, let's dig in to this particular interview. Okay. When the host asks Watch Jazzy what she considers to be submission, she starts off by saying, reading his mind. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm speaking mostly to ladies because submission is typically, weighed upon the woman. You're not a psychic, boo-boo, okay? And even if you are, you should not be reading your man's mind. Now, I feel like I get where she was coming from. Maybe it's that, once you know a person and you know what they like and what they dislike, you kind of move accordingly, which I think is like general day-to-day good advice for any kind of relationship. But to go as far as to say reading his mind, no. In healthy relationships, y'all, there has to be conversation. You have to let others know what you like and what you do not like. Now, of course, like I said, after you get to know someone, you don't have to have this conversation as much because they know who you are and you know who they are, and then you move accordingly. But to know someone's desires, you have to speak with them so they can know your desires. They have to speak with you, guys. Reading each other's mind, that's just ridiculous because then it also comes to the point of jumping to conclusions. Because now instead of having conversations, you feel like you're reading a situation or this is what your partner has on their mind. And so you're assessing it from a place of ignorance, and not ignorance in the sense of the actual meaning, not knowing, as opposed to having conversations. Now, can people lie to you? Yeah. If you're trying to have a conversation with them, but that's where the knowing them comes into place. That's where your discernment comes into place. But thinking you have to have this superpower to read someone's mind like you're an Avenger, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It borders very much for you if you're the person that's saying, I want to read my man's mind and ensure that he's making sure he's okay without him having to even open his mouth. It turns you into his mother. It does. Because that's how I am with my son. Because he's a child. So now he's old enough, he's 13, so he can express to me his needs and desires. But when he was 1 and 2 and, he wasn't able to communicate in a way that may have been cognitive for an adult or for someone that has some level of understanding, then I have to read him. If before he could speak and he's, crying, is he hungry? Does his diaper need to be changed? Is he irritated by something? That's what you do with a baby. Because they don't have the ability to express themselves. But when you are saying that you are going to be doing this with a grown man, that is extremely unhealthy. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I'm going to keep it a stack. It's just unhealthy. Okay. And I don't know the dynamic of their relationship. And again, maybe she was just saying that I've just studied him enough to know what he needs. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to just on a general basis, communication is key. We're adults. Let's talk about it. Okay. Now, with that said, y'all, let's listen to how she responds to when the host asked her, well, you're doing all of this. What are you getting in return?
You know what's interesting, and you saw my reaction when I was like, you say that? You asked for that? You know what I mean? I think that I have gotten better at saying the things that I need, but if I don't get it the first time, I don't like to say it again.
So this lady just said, in return, she asks for what she wants. And the way that it was said, it makes me seem like she's not even really asking, to be honest with you. And if she has to ask more than once, she's not asking again, which also tells me, just based on that comment, that there are things that she says she needs or has expressed that she needed, and she just ain't getting it. So sis, you scratching his back to sleep or rubbing his back to sleep, you packing his lunch, you reading his mind, you're making sure that he has everything that he needs. In other posts, you saying that you are performing anal with him and you don't even like anal, but you you are having to ask him when you are reading his mind for things and he not even giving it to you all the time. Sis, come on, ladies. And I'm speaking to ladies again because submission typically is towards women. If submission is your thing, you have to be submitting to a man who is showing you that he's worthy of submission. Because when she said here, well, she found it when the host was saying, oh, she has this communication with her partner and she finds it strange. Because the host had, said that with her and her partner, she expresses to her partner what she needs. The partner expresses to her what what he needs, and so on and so forth, like more of a balanced type of relationship. And she's like, she can't fathom that, essentially. Ladies, you cannot. I am just shocked that we really even having this conversation. Because further into, I cut that part off because I don't want to get too deep into this, right? Because that's not the point of this podcast. But the host asked Jazzy, hey, well, if he was broke, would you be submissive? And her answer was no. Which I'm not completely saying that she's wrong for that, because she has a certain amount of money. So she is financially stable. She's in a certain tax bracket. So naturally, she would want to have a man that is also in a higher tax bracket. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the host goes on to ask her, well, what if he's great to you? He loves you. He nourishes you. He cares for you. He gives you everything that you need as far as emotionally, but he just don't got it like that. And she's like, no. She actually says no 3 times. So it's like, there's a level of confusion here for me, because then further on, the host asks, well, what do you need to submit? And she was like, for to be needed, and not to be needed. I'm sorry. Basically that, that man is there for her. Well, confusion again, absolute. Ladies, y'all have to understand what you want before you can even be in any kind of relationship. Any kind, whether it be equalitarian or equalitarian, equal, however you say it, whether it be a submissive relationship, whether it be that you are the person that's the head of the household. Listen, again, if the dynamic works for you, it's what works for you and your partner, right? You have to know yourself first. Because if you're saying that your desires can only be met if you are having to explain that to your partner, which again, I don't think is a bad thing because that's communication. But when you're explaining it to them, there are times where they potentially do not give you what you need, but you are over here bending your back, breaking all ends to do for them. That is not balanced, and you are going to get run down. Like she even said, where part of her love language or part of the way that her superpower is doing for others, is making sure he's straight. Is putting him first. When you put someone above yourself, even your children, you suffer and they will suffer too. Okay? Putting someone above yourself is helping no one, because all you are doing is becoming an enabler, and no one needs an enabler. It develops relationships that are unstable and very much just unrequited. And not even because that your partner, not potential partner, but your actual partner, if you're in this situation, not just because your partner is not a good person, because they may be great. But see, when you teach someone how to treat you, that's how they're going to treat you. And even the greatest of people can succumb to that. You have to be extremely strong not to fall into that and say, you know what? No, sis, like I don't want to do this. Ladies, submission works when you have a man who is taking care of you, who is doing for you, so you want to submit to him. And I want a lot of y'all who want the submissive lifestyle to also go and look up what submission is in the dictionary. I'm not going to talk too much on that. I'm going to let y'all do y'all little homework on that. And tell me if that's the dynamic that you want. Again, as long as it's healthy. You have to ensure that when you are setting out to do things, you're not doing it because this man have money. You're not doing it because he has status or fame. You're not doing it because you're lonely and you just need someone in your life. You're not doing it because everyone else is married around you and you want to be married too, or everyone else is in a relationship but you want to have a relationship too. Because those reasons are not enough reasons. They're not good enough reasons, at least, to put yourself last in a situation. It's not. It's not. You have to be right for yourself first. And there's so many other things, because I used to follow Watch Jazzy some time ago, and a lot of her stuff was like very much like woman empowerment type of content. And then for this to be the way that she expresses herself now in her relationships, it's very contradictory. And that just goes into a lot of things I've said previously on a podcast, where be careful and be mindful of who you are following and who you are letting give you advice and lead you in certain areas. There's nothing wrong, and I will say this a million times because sometimes people like to misconstrue things. Nothing wrong with submission. Just make sure you submit to the right person. Make sure you're not giving up yourself. Make sure you're not belittling who you are to submit to someone. And then if you are submitting, make sure that they are also doing their part to be there for you, because then, ladies, just do better. Do better overall. Be the best person for you so you can be the best person for them. But you cannot give them the best version of you if you don't even know what that is. Just plain and simple. Plain and simple. Anyway, guys, definitely want to thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Please, again, comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know your ideas on the whole situation, your thoughts on the whole situation. I am very, very curious to see how you guys have felt about this, if you've watched the entire interview. And you should go back and watch the interview. I believe it's called let me look at my phone and see. I Baby My Man and It Works. And it's by Shan Bodie is the YouTube name for the creator. So yeah, go back and listen to the whole thing, and again, let me know what you think. And if you're not subscribed, if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment. And until next time, be blessed and stay safe.